I am just going to ask everyone outright, do we think that Roblox Jailbreak is a finished video game? Like, do we think that the game is polished and developed enough to be considered a finished product? Because in my opinion, it is absolutely not that. This game can be very frustrating when it comes to general bugginess and how many glitches seemingly appear every single day at this point. This game has so many problems that I can't consider it to be finished whatsoever. And what makes it worse is that there are people in the community that try to convince others that the game is finished and that there is no other things that need to be added to the game to make it more fun, and that the game is polished enough for it to be functional, so no more polishing to be added to the game. And that is a very silly mindset to have, in my opinion, because there are a lot of bugs and glitches that pop up in modern Jailbreak, and the developers see them, but they don't pay enough mind to them to fix them, which is very bad in my opinion. Now, while I say that I don't think Jailbreak is a finished video game whatsoever, just because of how buggy and generally unfinished it is, in the current year of 2025, I feel like the game is fairly stable when it comes to being functional. Though I do use the term fairly very lightly because there is some stuff in the game that is very annoying to this day. In terms of general polish, I feel like the game is okay in that regard now. There have been a lot of glitches and bugs in the game's history that range from being abused by players to being annoying to deal with, and a lot of those have been alleviated in recent times. Like, even very recently, things like no-clip glitches involving emotes has been patched, and even rope no-clip glitches have been patched for a long time, and even no-clipping via exiting a vehicle has been dealt with a large amount, even though you can still do that in some places. And other things like invisibility glitches and invincibility glitches have been dealt with a lot, and even issues concerning vehicles have mostly been dealt with, like car bouncing and other issues with boats. It's not like they're not devoted to general game upkeep, but there are still a lot of other things that keep this game from being properly finished. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot, because there are just so many things and rules and tiny little bugs that really add up to just really make an unsatisfactory jailbreak experience. Like, just to list a few, things like paralyzation, where you can't move your player character concerning certain circumstances with helicopter ropes, and anti-cheat spazzing is really bad, and phasing through floors with vehicle collision is really stupid. Elevators being able to soft lock you if you enter them too late because you'll just be sent to the empty void outside of the elevator model. Drowning being very weird with certain bodies of water on the map. If you're falling and you somehow get on a ladder, your downward momentum is conserved, so if you go down the ladder and you reach the ground, you'll still take fall damage. Passenger train having very weird properties concerning collection, because if you collect items inside of the passenger train too fast, it won't register and you won't actually collect the item. And even things that don't interfere with gameplay whatsoever, like the tomb and jetpack being able to soft lock your player animations, and weapon camera lock having some very weird properties, being able to shift lock you permanently, and loading a customization save on top of a vehicle that already has been customized won't actually get rid of any of the other customizations you don't want. Team elimination contracts contributing to a contract that is on the opposite team, and even things like road potholes are another issue like this too. You might see these things and think that they aren't huge issues, but look at these things from the perspective of a newcomer player. You are going to naturally assume that Jailbreak is a game where things are going to work, but when a lot of these things just don't work how they're supposed to, you are going to question them, and these things are going to add up, and it's not going to be a very fun experience. You're just going to be questioning why this game works like this. Why does this game have so many arbitrary rules to it? Why does the game not function the way it's supposed to? This game can way too many times just simply soft lock you at arbitrary points in the game, and the only way to get out of these points can be very punishing for you. Naturally, I take it that a lot of these things that just come from this game's general unpolishedness is really alienating for a lot of new players. There are just so many other games on Roblox that function infinitely better than Jailbreak could ever dream of being. When those types of games exist, a new player that is experiencing these kinds of issues time and time again is going to look towards those games and probably play them more and completely abandon Jailbreak. And even for veteran players like myself, we can get really sick and tired of how buggy the game can be at some points, and even for myself, I straight up quit the game in late 2022 because of how buggy the game was during that time. This issue is not at all exclusive to new players, and in an era where Badimo is constantly trying to preserve player attention and make as much money off of these players as possible, this stuff is really not good for them. This game is far too janky for its own good, and all of the general unpolished stuff that I mentioned before is still in the game to this day, so I'm not even sure Badimo is aware that the game is very, very janky at this point. And a good portion of Jailbreak's bugs does actually come from how buggy Roblox is as an engine in general, and at points when bugs like this are brought up in the community, sometimes people that are affiliated with Badimo and test the game and report bugs will say that it's a Roblox issue so we can't do anything about it. The thing about that is that Roblox does have a helping hand in fixing a lot of Jailbreak's bugs. There are points where Asima will point out that Roblox did have a helping hand in fixing a certain bug, and it leads me to believe that Roblox themselves is just as much of developers on Jailbreak as Badimo. So there actually are things Badimo can do when it comes to fixing issues in Jailbreak that relate back to general Roblox jankiness. Though it does have me thinking, how come some other Roblox games that are very polished and smooth and fun to play don't have these issues when Jailbreak has these issues because Roblox is so janky with its engine? I wonder. And definitely another reason for why Jailbreak is oh so buggy and unpolished and stuff like that is just by virtue of Jailbreak being a very big and ambitious game. This game just has so much to it. There are so many vehicles and robberies and other little features that Badimo has to keep track of to make sure everything is very functional. And considering the size of the Badimo team, it is very realistic to see why the game is as janky as it is. But I'm just over here thinking, why exactly can't Badimo just hire other people to fix the game? Because if their resources are stretched thin that much, I feel like that's just the realistic next step to do, right? A lot of, if not pretty much all of the really fun and polished Roblox games out there are made by entire teams of people, so is this not the logical next step? I don't know. I'm just spitballing, take that for what you will. So yeah, I think I've made my point very clear. I do not think Jailbreak is a finished video game whatsoever, purely because of how janky this game can be, and I really do not like how people try to convince themselves that Jailbreak is a finished video game, because it simply isn't. I've just played way too many video games that are actually finished where the developers actually know what the hell they're doing. But aside from general unpolish, what about bugs that actually just straight up break the game? Things that just straight up break immersion or just breaks the meta. Things like the UFO glitch, obviously, which is just straight up a funny bug, and the snowman glitch, which is also just very hilarious. I bring up these two in particular because they are very much two sides of the same coin, two sides of the same buggy dilemma. Because you got UFOing, which is just a very unfortunate and weird bug where you don't know exactly why the game does this. It just happens, and when you're affected by it, it can really suck hard. And the snowman glitch is in that bunch of glitches where people just abuse the shit out of it, and when it's gone, they cry really hard. Because if you don't know, early on in Jailbreak's lifespan, the snowman glitch and glitches like the snowman glitch were basically the most OP speed glitches in the game. You would essentially just need to crouch down while using the Snow Gentleman package, and you would go flying on flat surfaces, and it was extremely busted. I actually think it went faster than most high-end vehicles back then. And you did have offshoots like this, like the penguin glitch, which was actually found way before the snowman glitch, and the magma fiend glitch, which was pretty obscure when it was out in like late 2018, but it still was there and it happened. But just think about things like this. Think about glitches that give players a hefty advantage in terms of game progression and just playing the game overall. Because this is the exact same thing as things like the Volt Bike glitch, or even other glitches that don't involve speed, like the CEO glitches where you can just cheese the boss fight, or the airdrop glitch where you can completely skip the combat and get the airdrop for completely free. And other things like no-clip glitches and invisibility glitches, invincibility glitches, and anti-arrest glitches very much hinder how the game is played. Even robbery glitches that lets you do certain robberies that you need to do with multiple people solo, I would say also hinders how the game is intended to play. And yes, a lot of these glitches are not in the game in the present day, but I want to mention these just because of the weirdness towards these glitches whenever they get patched. Whenever glitches like these get patched, especially with the Volt Bike glitch, Badimo gets a surprising amount of backlash from the community for patching glitches like this. And I assume that's just because of how useful they are, so naturally people are not going to like it when their advantage is taken away from them. But then again, these things are not intended to be in the game. These things are not features, even though it can be perceived that they are. Because the Volt Bike glitch, for example, was in the game for years, so when it eventually got removed, it probably felt very weird for people who use it a lot. And while I do get that side of the argument where if things are in the game for this long, it might as well just become a feature because the developers acknowledge it but don't care enough to fix it, if you are that moved just from bugs like this being fixed and removed from the game, I think that goes to show that you don't actually like playing Jailbreak as a game. If you use a lot of these glitches as like your main way to play Jailbreak, you are directly avoiding playing most of the game and just interacting with most of the game whatsoever. Clearly that shows me that you do not like how the game is designed and intended to be played. And with things like the Volt Bike glitch and invisibility glitches and invincibility glitches and no-clip glitches, you are straight up just refusing to interact with the game properly, which is in my opinion just insulting to the developers. But with things like the airdrop glitch, where you can just straight up hold the top of your window and cause the client to pause, which causes the NPCs to pause and not drop down, you can just straight up get the airdrop for free. And because of how airdrops are some of the worst things in the game, like they are not fun to do properly at all, I would not blame you for doing the glitch whatsoever. Same thing goes with like glitches that can cheese the CEO fight, because that fight is dog ass and I want no one to do it properly because it's bad. But it does cause you to get sprayed by the NPCs and you automatically die, which I typically don't want to happen. Because of that, I just find it easier to do the boss normally, which typically takes more time, but the boss is easy, so I just prefer doing that instead. And the same thing with the jewelry store, because there was a glitch found where you can actually do the jewelry store multiple times if there are people that are still in the robbery after you finish doing it. While it does help with general money grinding, I would would rather you gain money faster by just playing the game regularly. It actually does help with hyperchrome progression because you can just keep on robbing the jewelry store more and more and more, and that'll exponentially grow your pity percentage. And because hyperchromes suck, you're more inclined to do this to build your pity percentage for the jewelry store. While glitches like these do go against how the game is meant to be played, it honestly just makes the game better because you are directly avoiding the bad parts of the game, which is, in my opinion, incredibly valid. You can do these. But other than that, there really isn't that much to talk about when it comes to Jailbreak's general bugginess and glitchiness, so yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say. If there are other prominent glitches that I did not mention in this video, be sure to let me know in the comments because I am more than confident that I skipped over a lot of bugs. I just wanted to make this video just to point out some very glaring prominent bugs that are still plaguing the game to this day, and just generally talk about Jailbreak's history when it comes to bugs and glitches because I want to contribute something to the conversation when it comes to things like this. That's just what I do. I talk about everything Jailbreak, good and bad. And just again with the bad stuff of Jailbreak glitches, I swear to God, if I get paralyzed one more time, I am going to pull my hair out. Badimo, why isn't this fixed?
What are you, president of his fan club?
No. That would be your mother.
What the?